And now back to Focus on Diversity with Troy Shaw.
And welcome back to the program. You know, with this television show, we're going to do a lot in regards to diversity on multiple levels. Well, there was a documentary made by a very young girl, I believe, on the East Coast, about how things change and how things stay the same. Watch this documentary, and we're going to discuss a little bit about it after you view it. Here it goes.
In Brown versus Board of Education, the famous case that desegregated schools in the 1950s, Dr. Kenneth Clark conducted a doll test with black children. He asked them to choose between a black doll and a white doll. In most instances, the majority of the children preferred the white doll. I decided to reconduct this test as Dr. Clark did to see how we've progressed since then. Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you'd like to play with?
This one. I like that one. I can. This one.
That one?
This one. I like to play with this.
And can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll?
She's white.
And can you show me the doll that looks bad? Okay. And can you and why does that look bad?
Because it's black.
And why do you think that's a nice doll?
Because she's white.
And can you give me the doll that looks like you? "15 out of the 21 children preferred the white doll."
If you'd like to get or watch that in its entirety, please go to YouTube or go to our website. We'll have it available on our website at www.focusondiversity.com. And you can also go to YouTube and you type in the search area, a girl like me. It was made by Kira Davis. She should be commended for that. Gentlemen, this here just really explains. This original study was done in the 50s. This study goes to show how things change and how things stay the same. Rich, what was your impression when you watched that?
You know, the results of the study in the 50s didn't surprise me. The results here shocked me. I would like to think that we've come further with our children and that you wouldn't have seen those kinds of results. And if after all the decades of effort by black community leaders, white community leaders, everybody to try to change people's attitudes, and this many decades later, we're still struggling with this, I find it very depressing.
Timothy, this is probably a mea culpa of how society as a whole has looked at its minority people and its minority children. What are your thoughts?
Well, the racial divide in America is, I think, larger and stronger than many of us recognize. And to see this deep-seated self-hatred in children is both a sign of innocence and in that they know what is going on around them, and yet it's a sign of sadness because much of what we thought we have changed because there are now, people of prominence that are African American, black lawyers, black doctors.
But these kids aren't seeing that.
These kids aren't seeing that. They're still seeing the prominent problem of racial discrimination within our community, and it's sad, and it's hard to combat.
Chris, here what we have here literally is a society of people, along with their children, African American in particularly, that still have a problem with who they are. What's your comments on that?
Let me say it by this, the one young lady in there who, when they asked the question, which one is the good baby and which one is the naughty baby, and she picked the white one as the good and the dark-skinned baby as the bad. I almost wanted to cry. I thought, my God, you think that by looking at yourself, you think that yourself and the African American, and she was maybe about 3 years old, so she doesn't know the full concept of that. But that's a sad look into that, where she feels that just because she's an African American little girl, that she is bad. no child should.
And
no
her
other
youth
child.
is amazing because
Yes.
she learned that so quickly.
Yes.
Only a few years on Earth, and she learned
Now
this.
think about that. Think about that. So what we're talking about here, consequently, is societal. We have a problem showcasing, highlighting, and emphasizing specifically African American people.
You know, it causes for me to wonder, maybe what we see in the adult world is symptomatic of what's happening within the hearts of these children because of low expectations. Maybe I can't get an education. Maybe I can't do better economically because I'm bad. Maybe if I thought myself to be good, maybe if the expectations were raised, and if we could reach to these children and raise their expectations, maybe adults would be different than what we see in our community
Chris,
today.
I see you had something to say.
This reminds me of an aspect in it, and I'm not going off on a tangent or anything, I promise you. I have two daughters. One is 7, one is 4. When my 7-year-old was younger, I took her to a business trip in Atlanta, and I have a very good friend from college. We lived together for many years. He's an African-American gentleman. I love him to death. He stood up in my wedding, would do anything for him. She immediately looked at him, kind of whispered in my ear, and said, "Daddy, how come he's black?" I said, "Because he's my friend." I said, "What do you mean?" And I didn't understand the concept of her being.
She's never seen in person.
She's never seen in person an African American gentleman, and we sat there and we talked. And Morris and I talked, and she goes, "Oh no, that's okay." I said, "I'm an African American gentleman." And he started to talk with her. Now those two are like best buddies. You get them together. She didn't know. She had never been into that where she had communication, or even in the school.
This comes around to where we spoke earlier in one of our broadcasts before about race mattering. Although I don't want race to matter. I'm sure no one wants race to matter. But in America right now, as we currently live and breathe, race does matter. And it's up to us to change the faces of what's going on in America for our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren. Rich, as a CEO that has to have harmony within his company and his corporate ranks, of course, you may have scenarios where the people aren't feeling this way. I mean, what is done to really calm those kinds of thoughts in one's minds?
Well, I think within a company, there are things you can do, okay? You can have a mentoring program where
solutions. Here's some solutions here.
Solutions, okay, for the angry white man.
For the angry white man last week.
Right. You can have a mentoring program where if somebody comes in the department and they're the only black person or the only Hispanic in that entire department, and their boss is a white boss and they're not comfortable with some of the racial issues they're dealing with, give them somebody, a professional in the organization who is of their race, who understands them, that they can go to. And we have that at Badger Meter. We have people they can go to and they can talk to. So within a company, you can do that. What disturbs me is that's taking adults and trying to get them to shift how they think. What we saw in this film is little children who in a few short years have been inculcated with this thought that they're not good. I don't know how you deal with that.
And when we come back, this is what we do on Focus on Diversity. We have topical discussions like this, and when we come back, we will further our discussions in regards to diversity. Stay with us. We'll be right back.